I'm on my phone. My
Yay.
computer died and I don't have the charger and my phone's about to die.
All right, welcome to the PopCulture Effect. I'm Rockin Rob, and on this show, I bring my closest friends together to talk about all the news happening in our pop culture world around us. Welcome all to another episode of the Pop Culture Effect. I'm here with a couple of my lovely friends. We've got Subset,
Heyo.
and we've got Menace.
Hello.
And there's a few things that have been going on that we wanted to touch on. But I want to go first because I have been so excited for this for 10 goddamn years. I have been waiting for the Disney Plus Marvel Zombies series.
You're just obsessed with zombies.
I am obsessed with zombies, okay? I've talked about it so goddamn much. But just to get your guys' understanding, because Subson and I talked a little bit about it off recording, but what do you guys know of the Marvel Zombies brand itself?
Honestly, I know more of the DC zombies in the anti-life equation. More
Deceased
than the
was
Marvel
great.
zombies, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Deceased, from a storytelling perspective, was amazing. I love it. I could gush about it for hours. But Marvel Zombies, for those that are unaware, it is the sequel to the What If episode from the first season of What If. We all remember how awesome that was. Same art style, same adaptation. But this is kind of the new age version of Marvel Zombies because way back when there was a few different comic iterations.
It's kind of like their go-to Halloween special, isn't it?
Well, not necessarily Halloween special, but it is the thing that people think of when they think of, well, what is Marvel when there's horror influences within it? Because there's a lot of different writers take a lot of different stories in different directions, whether it's like very depressing stories or very like upbeat. But Marvel Zombies is always centered around like the typical tropes of like survival, sacrifice, and again, Subset and I went at it a little bit with the differences we have about the storytelling of Marvel Zombies. But for what it is, there are 4 hour-long episodes. I know what I'm talking about. And from what it looks like, it's got some great variety. It's got some characters you wouldn't really expect to be in. So to start us off, the main character cast we have is, and in Subset, I might need your help coming up with names because I think I'm kind of blanking here. Got Kate Bishop. I know her.
Yamala Khan.
Who's the third one? I can't remember her name. Riri Williams from the Ironheart series. Now, they are kind of our main... We also have the cast of Spider-Man and Scott Lang's head, Doctor Strange's cape from the What If episode. But that's kind of our core cast going forward. Whether that changes or grows will depend on the episodes. I don't want to give too much away because I want to actually incentivize people to go out to watch it. But at least from a core perspective, the characters we get to travel through these episodes are ones that are like not necessarily second tier character in that kind of way of looking at it. It shines a light on characters that normally we would see a lot less of, if that makes a little bit more sense. Because all of the main guys, all of the main ones we know of from the MCU are gone. The timeline takes place at Infinity War, but literally everybody that we know of note is seemingly gone. So we've just got this really small group of heroes that are just trying to like survive. Walking Dead.
Wait,
all these
so
other
I kind of have a question. Is it kind of just them putting all the new people together?
I would say like new kind of, because you get Blade Knight as we've seen in the trailers, and you could argue that's a new character, but we've seen that Moon Knight was its own show, so that's kind of current. And Kamala Khan with Ms. Marvel and a couple of other ones we've seen. It is kind of the new crop of the characters we see in the MCU, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
I won't knock the story or anything, but I'm kind of sick of Marvel or Disney or whoever's making these shows, Netflix, whatever, trying to push new characters down our throats the entire time. Not to get on too much of a tangent here, but Halo was a big example of it. For all of its faults already, and one of the big ones was like you had Master Chief and Silver Team, and then you had this entire secondary plot of this random character that was for some reason important because of some actions in the show.
I feel like the difference is the Marvel zombie, or the Marvel universe itself, is just so vast that I feel like if they keep treading on the characters we know of, like Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, like it's gonna get overplayed. We have to introduce, not necessarily introduce new
same thing
characters,
with
but like,
pushing the new characters though. If we have new show after new show or new character after new character coming out with the Disney Plus shows. We have this. I'm not saying anything for the story of
yeah,
Marvel
yeah,
Zombies
yeah.
because I know it's focusing more on the zombies and everything actually happening in it. But we have all these new shows. We have Marvel Zombies originally showing them together. How I feel is that this is more of a test. We're gonna run a cool animated series that doesn't focus more on the characters more than the zombies. So it's gonna be mainly zombie focused, or we're gonna put essentially the new Avengers together to see how everybody feels about them working together.
For the upcoming Doomsday gigantic crossover movie that they're probably gonna do, and then they'll have everybody
Yeah, for the
there.
new Avengers.
I could see that. I could see that they do it in two parts. One, they finally give people animated zombies, but also to do a litmus test of the rest of the just character pool. But again, I am all for utilizing the characters you have at your disposal. I'd rather them use characters than just, do a Disney where you're just remastering everything over and over and over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's always how it's been with Marvel characters in general. How many times each issue or each writer is essentially a reboot?
Yeah, from a story perspective, yes. There's like hundreds of Marvel characters that they just never
Oh, like yeah,
utilize.
in Marvel Zombies, it is normally like the main guys that because they're the first responders to the big events, and then normally it's one of the main people that gets infected. Yeah, I get where it's normally like I know you're gonna kind of go to this later, but in the comics, isn't it normally like a few of the side characters and maybe like one or two? And I know Spider-Man's normally one of the last ones alive.
Well, at least from that, the Marvel Zombies story, yeah, it's usually just very, very side characters. Like in the original Marvel Zombie story, it was Black Panther and a subsection of Wakanda that essentially survived. And there wasn't really, like, it was mostly just the Marvel Zombies losing their hunger and coming over to the human side to help them. For Marvel Zombies Resurrection, it was a little bit of the same thing where a lot of the main crew, like the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, went to go to the giant floating dead Galactus that was in the sky. Like I said, go read the Marvel Zombies comics. They're amazing. So anyways, though they all got infected, so it was essentially Peter Parker, Franklin Richards, and I think a couple of the X-Men that were left for Resurrection. But yeah, like literally in every incarnation, it is big event happens in a substantial time period in the Marvel Zombies universe, and the first responders, like you said, are the Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and they are not the ones we follow. We follow all these secondary characters, and from a character writing perspective, from a story writing perspective, I could say that the Marvel Zombies show could use a little bit of tweaking and maybe improvements, but character-wise, I really liked all the characters that they had in these episodes.
Speaking of which, going into the story, what kind of like does this follow the comics at all, or like is this its own kind of like? I know you said it incorporates the newer characters into it. Is this more like MCU?
Yeah,
My
it's taking place during the blip, maybe like a little bit after the blip as well.
Yeah, so like some of the cool moments we get to see are renditions of the MCU in an animated situation. I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but we see, the moment of Thor, Rocket, and Groot showing up, and we get these other tiny inflections of the MCU in this Marvel Zombies universe. At least from a storytelling perspective, this is new. It does take some elements from the MCU, but they actually give an origins for the Zombies Plague, which is completely different to the original Marvel Zombie storyline, which was a paradox that the Watcher conjured up. It's really confusing.
You're telling me in the comics the Watcher doesn't watch and everything gets
Yeah, and then he eventually he gets involved because they always do. They can't help themselves.
they can't just watch.
Well, here's my question to you, Tyler. Who bit Sentry? Because I don't know.
Me neither.
Nope, because writing in Marvel Zombies sometimes needs to be a little bit, and that's a good transition into the less than coherent writing elements that kind of affect the story, because as Subset and I talked beforehand, there's some moments in this, and this may go into a little bit of spoiler territory, but it just doesn't make sense. Like a little bit of it, like I was going back to at the start of this recording. There are some tropes that this story falls into that every other zombie story of history has fallen into, whether it be sacrificing yourself for a loved one even though you're probably capable of, surviving with them, or a big sacrificial moment even though you don't have to. Like Like the choices that people make that they don't necessarily need to make, but are made because it is a zombie story. That's kind of how it goes. There are these moments where sacrifices happen, bad things happen to like heighten the sense of tension. That's my takeaway from Marvel Zombies, is that it is good. There could be improvements, but for what is there, I love it.
I feel like it's a thing of you need to suspend your disbelief for zombie movies. You need to suspend your disbelief for superhero movies. You clash them together, you kind of gotta just roll with it.
Yeah, you kind of do. Like,
How do these impervious people that block bullets can't block teeth?
how did Iron Man's nanotechnology-based armor from Infinity War get bitten through? That doesn't make any sense, but it's okay. We're just gonna move on. But no,
Exactly.
the coolest parts that I want to talk about is, and again, this is spoilers, is the whole thing with Icarus and Captain Marvel. For any of that, I just want to make a point clear. I think there's a giant glaring plot hole in this whole entire thing that nobody's talking about, and that's the fact that at the end of season 2 of What If, when Ultron Vision is fighting the Watcher, they like, or not the Watcher, but like the team that he assembles. Again, spoilers, but that show has been so old. How have you not seen it? But there's a moment where a bunch of Marvel zombies get thrown at Ultron, and you see him interact with Wanda. So it's like, is that the same Wanda that we then later see in Marvel Zombies? Does Marvel Zombies take place before What If?
Is that a plot hole or is that just a loose thread that they can continue and add later?
Well, it would be a loose thread if Ultron sent them back to the dimension, but he didn't. He killed them.
Or who's to say that that's not later in the timeline of Marvel Zombies?
That is true.
I don't know.
Because there is a cliffhanger for the end of season 2. But at least from these impactful moments, especially with Icarus and Captain Marvel, it gave so much goddamn respect to the Eternals because, you know, in the original movie, they were like fighting for the destruction of the world, for the awakening of the celestial being.
Fighting each other.
But in this Marvel Zombies universe, Icarus is fighting zombie Captain Marvel to hold. He's been holding her off for 5 goddamn years. It's these little elements, like proper respect to the Eternals. T'Challa gets a moment to shine, so we get that extra little bit of praise going to Chadwick Boseman's character. It's these little tiny moments where we get, as a spoiler I will say immediately, friggin' Red Guardian gets his fight with Captain America, and it's just all these tiny little moments just giving all these characters these great moments you wouldn't see in the MCU, you know?
Okay, but I do gotta say, do you think if MCU Cap and Red Guardian, where they are at the end of their respective things, Cap would whoop his ass?
Well, Cap would win, but Red Guardian would say it would be a stalemate. I had him right where I wanted him, and then we both got knocked out somehow. The other aspects of this were great. Obviously, right off the bat, you see people die. Like I was saying a little bit earlier, because I really want to touch on this, at about episode 3 or 4, you get the Day Zero showcase, where you see the PIM lab just exploding with these people who, you know what happens when you get messed up with PIM particles, you see these giant skyscraper tall zombies walking around. It is the coolest goddamn visual they could have ever done for the Marvel Zombies universe. And
I guess it does help
just,
explain why everything went to so fast.
right?
It's not only zombies, but it's PIM zombies.
Oh, it was.
Wait, that means they're fucking microscopic zombies, aren't they?
Well, yeah, because both Janet and Scott are zombified, so yes, there
Well,
are.
I'm saying, like, for this beginning scene, like, not even counting the superheroes, it goes to stand that, like, if some got hit with the big PIM particle, some got hit with the small one, right?
Probably. I could see that, but at least from how it is shown, it seems like they were only grown. Like, the only people that were seen to, like, shrink were Scott and Lang. Because the way it went was Janet got the infection, infected Scott, and then they both kind of grew to normal size, and then they started infecting people. But you are right. There could very well be, like, microscopic zombies. There is going to be a season 2, so who knows? But
Yeah, that would be terrible. Like,
right?
think of, like, oh, zombie invasion, some redneck would take them out. Zombies, but you can't see them.
I just thought of the whole crux of season 2 or even season 3 is going to be, well, we have to go back to the point of origin. We got to go back to the teeny tiny verse. And then they go there and it's just infested with, like, not even zombies, just like microbes or like whatever is in the
No,
quantum realm or
it's
whatever.
Zombie King, so they can have one
Oh
last thing of
God.
killing off
Just
his
an army of
character.
just an army of zombie Kangs.
So they can have
Oh.
one last thing of killing off his character for good.
Yeah, they could give one more middle finger to Jonathan Majors. Putting aside all the extra spoiler stuff that goes into like the other elements that happen in the latter half of the episodes, the main big bad that was showcased in the what if episode and obviously the trailers leading up in the first episode, we see that these zombies are it's kind of two sides of a coin. So on one side they have some semblance of retention of not just their like abilities but like tactical decision making, because literally in the first like 5 minutes of the first episode we see zombie Hawkeye do a trick shot. So these aren't lumbering, oh, they're just gonna bite you. No, these are skilled zombies. These are able to act on zombies. It's not just, oh, they see meat, they go to it. And like I said with Wanda, as the overarching kind of force behind it, she gives them sentience. She gives them an ability to speak. And just that extra level of being able to like, because usually in zombies they're just the lumbering horde. You never get a sense of like identity with them. It doesn't feel like an actual like
Well,
front or
there
force that
have
you're
been
facing.
there has been in some versions of the comic, because wasn't there a version of the comic where like zombie Spider-Man was the one that saved everybody?
Yeah, in the original, everybody retained, just like how they do in this show, which is kind of why I like it so much. They had that retention of mind and ability. Again, like it seemed like in the original comic, they had full retention of who they were, what they are as a hero. But in
They just
this
had a
one,
hunger they couldn't control.
exactly. But in this one, it seems more like they just have that like ability and like muscle memory retention rather than having their personalities remain within them. You know what I mean? I think
And
Wanda
that makes
is
sense with
the
what we've
only
seen
one,
of Wanda's powers.
right?
Because
Especially with
she can dip into the multiverse, and
alter
she can like
reality, like
dip into
like her side
memories and
story.
stuff like that.
Yeah, but like she was really cool. There were other elements that were brought into this as well that kind of gave us different vibes. Like Zemo came in at one point, and his implementation of his episode was really cool. But again, you'd have to go out to watch it because that was just such a cool concept of an episode. I will put a spoiler warning just to say that they go underwater in an underwater city. But yeah, just every episode felt different. It felt like there were new challenges, but also there's just these threads that don't really get answered. Like the Icarus and Captain Marvel thing. There's another thing that happens in a later episode that I don't want to
It's
touch at all.
stuff.
But
It's sequel bait, Ballbird. It's fine. I'm honestly surprised. Or do you know if they're doing a comic run like this? Because like kind of going into other Marvel media, they've been doing a comic run for Marvel Rivals, the game that's out.
I
I
don't
wondered if they
think,
were gonna start doing more stuff like that, because I think that's cool.
at least from, because I've been trying to keep up to, I've been more keeping up with the absolute DC comic line to get into the new stuff there, but I haven't much heard about a Marvel Zombies comic or anything new that they're doing with the comic line. But there are, since you brought up Marvel Zombies or Marvel Rivals, I wanted to bring up that Wanda is getting a Marvel, like a Queen Zombies skin in Marvel Rivals, and Blade is gonna get a Moon Knight skin.
Which
So
is
that's
weird
really
because
cool.
they just released the Mecha Moon Knight skin, which at least from what I've seen in like the trailer looks similar to Blade Knight.
I will say the new skins they've been popping out have been really good. I've been wanting to put money in this game for a long time. I will say that.
I don't know.
That's a different topic for a different day. But that's pretty much everything I have to talk about when it comes to Marvel Zombies. Everything else is kind of just spoiler stuff, and I want to incentivize everybody to go out of their way to watch it. I'm saying this right now. There have been clips in this recording that we've had to cut out because I'm too much of a chatterbox. But anyways, man, like I just want to say Discord hates us. This is like the third time now it's messed with our recording. So thank you both Subset and Menace for joining me today. Thank you, Menace.
Oh yeah, no problem.
And thank you, Subset.
Hey yo.
If you're checking us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're checking us out on CJSW and their network, make sure to check out all the other lovely stuff they have to offer. But yeah, once again, sorry guys that Discord just decided to middle finger us for the third time in a row and just cut us off early. But that's just how you just got to roll with the punches sometimes, you know? Anyways, thank you guys for listening.
Quitting.
We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey yo.